Now from WATN, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Welcome to Local 24 This Week. I am Richard Ransom. Hope you've had a special 4th of July weekend and that you've cleaned your plate from all the hot dogs, potato salad, and other goodies and ready to fill your plate now with a look at the real story behind the big stories. On our plate this Sunday, Methodist change of heart. Methodist LeBonheur Healthcare decides to put a temporary hold on suing its poorest patients for not paying their medical bills after stepped-up pressure from state lawmakers to explain its aggressive practices. The muddy situation surrounding Tomley Park got even muddier this week, with 3 business groups siding with Memphis in May in the controversy over the $60 million redesign of the downtown park. And where does the race for mayor stand now, just 3 months away? I'll ask my roundtable. Local 24's Otis Sanford and Local 24's Mike Matthews will be here for that. But first, let's do our roundtable, our one-on-one segment. And Justin Davis is here with MATA. You are actually not with MATA, you're with Memphis Bus Riders Union. Right. And you're the coordinator for that. And let's talk first a little bit about what the Memphis Bus Riders Union is all about.
Yeah, so, we're a 7-year-old grassroots organization. We're made up almost entirely of folks who are currently riding MATA, a lot of folks who, MATA is their only means of regular transportation. And we really just try to, work on getting improvements in the transit system that are really coming from the community.
So you're a big supporter of this $30 million price tag that we've heard will really give MATA the leg up it needs to make a difference in terms of transporting folks around the city, the way public transportation should be. And I would argue to you, people talk about what are we going to do about crime in this community, education issues, poverty. This is something we can do. We can do it relatively quickly. That would make a big difference. And I realize that your argument started to hit the mainstream when I started hearing conservatives say, we expect people to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to have jobs, to not rely on the government. Well, if they can't get to the job that they have at $9 an hour, and try having a car at $7 an hour, $9 an hour is generous in some cases, you need good public transportation.
Yeah,
and folks are starting to realize that. I think you've kind of crossed a barrier there, and that if we really want to be all in on this, then we need to have a better public transportation system, because right now it's woeful.
Yeah, absolutely. Bus riders are just dealing with so much on a day-to-day basis. We have a lot of service that is just really not adequate for what people in the community actually need. And it's a great point that you make, because at the end of the day, we have folks in the city where, a bus line is really the difference for them between employment and unemployment, right? It's the difference between having access to things like fresh food and medical care and even your vote, and not having access to those things. So when we're talking about transit, we're really talking about a lot of other issues too. We're talking about how do we connect people with the resources that are actually going to sustain their livelihoods.
It is also amazing to me that until now, the county has contributed nothing to MATA. Let's face it, a number of the workers who work in Germantown and Collierville in Bartlett are coming from Memphis, and if they don't have transportation, they have no way to get to their jobs. So it benefits the entire county to have an efficient, well-run public transportation bus system. I wonder how much you think your efforts are hurt, though, by there have been some management issues in the past, not now, but certainly some crises there that have come up, not only with the people who have been in charge, but then you also had this debacle with the trolley system and questions about whether there was good management at that point. Do you think that's hurt your effort in any way, some of these past issues?
At this point right now, I don't. Now we've certainly dealt a lot in the past with, some issues that we've had with how management makes decisions about bus service, and whether they're fully, incorporating the voices of the people who are using the system. But what we found is that right now is that there's been some really good momentum around, if we really want to see changes on the street, that we're going to have to be willing to put investment in that can go directly to, increasing bus service, getting more new buses on the street, and getting more bus shelters for people to keep them out of the elements.
And those are the big issues right now, especially the speed with which people can get from one place to another. I've done stories about 90-year-old women who take an hour and a half to get 2 miles to go get a sack of groceries. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
what we're dealing with
absolutely. Now. And what's funny about that is that stories like that are not uncommon.
Right, very common.
You know, we hear lots of people who are dealing with these massive barriers to get around the city every day and are still
so
doing
we've identified the problem. We don't have much time left, but I want to get into the solution. And we had the city commit $2.5 million more dollars to MATA, and Jim Strickland was a big supporter of that. And Mayor Lee Harris and the county commission promised $2.5 million as well, which is far cry from the $30 million MATA says it needs, but I guess you could look at it as a start. Nonetheless, there seems to be some strings attached in both cases. What's your read on whether you're actually going to see that $5 million?
Yeah, you know, we're really hopeful that that the city and county are able to, you know, really work through this and get something that's going to, like, work for everybody, because really the stakes are too high for this money to not go into the system.
You had a news release. Let's talk about the city's $2.5 million first. That maybe it's really not $2.5 million more because of a shell game, more or less, on how they're describing the financing.
Well, you know, really what we found is that last fall, MATA had threatened huge service cuts throughout the city, and to stop those cuts from happening, we helped advocate for the city to put in a $2.5 million cash infusion to prevent those cuts from going through. So that money has been carried over through this year's budget, which is definitely a good thing. But I think it's still worth talking about, can we, as a city, can we be investing more in transit?
And then the county has said, we'll give you $2.5 million, but we want 2 seats on the MATA board with county commissioners, which the city council is kind of has its feathers ruffled about that, because there are no city council members on the MATA board, so why should there be county commissioners on the MATA board? So that's got to get worked out too.
Yeah, you know, I'm hoping that they're going to get on this soon. You know, I think that there are a lot of questions about sort of how we introduce county representation onto the board. But I definitely think there's a way through this that, you know, leaves everybody satisfied, and most importantly, gets the public these resources that really need to be, you know, put out onto the street.
All right, well, Justin Davis, keep up the good fight, okay? And hope that it continues to go well, because we definitely need to make some improvements with MATA, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
To help the folks that need it most. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, my roundtable with Otis Sanford and Mike Matthews. We'll be right back.
Sonic's Summertime Chicken BLT has basil, aioli, and melty mozzarella.
It's like they took a BLT and turned it on its head.
Oh, wait a minute. Nope, mine's just upside down.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, I thought we were upside down for a second.
Hurry in for Summertime BLTs. Order ahead for happy hour anytime.
NST was the best choice for me.
They very much took care of business. That's NST strong.
With the strength of 33 lawyers and the resources to help you get paid for your car, truck, wreck case, call 683-7000.
I was very pleased with the settlement that NST was able to recover for me. They're NST strong.
NST in one word, phenomenal.
Now that's the NST way.
Call 683-7000.
Wish we could afford to buy new furniture.
What is this?
It's your breakthrough from Conn's Home Plus. Conn's Low Payment Finder finds the lowest payment tailored to you. Good credit or building credit.
Wow.
First very own dresser, a foster parent can help a scared child change back into a regular kid. Youth Villages, foster a little hope.
I'm really getting a vacation vibe off of this mocktail slot.
This has transported me to some peaceful beach.
We needed to get away.
From what?
From that parking space.
Oh, yeah, we were there last week.
Oh, week!
Get them while you can. New mocktail slushes like Pina Colada.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Time for my roundtable discussion now on Local 24 this week. Local 24's Mike Matthews is here, as is Local 24 political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford. All right, fellas, let's talk about the Methodist change of heart this week. We talked about this on the program last week, and then this week Methodist decided it was going to suspend any legal action or suing some of its poorest patients who were maybe in collection status, and wisely so, I would say, because I think you said it, Otis, they underestimated the public pressure here that would come to bear from these really aggressive practices that they implement in going after patients who can't afford to pay.
Oh, no question they underestimated it. I think they thought that, well, this was Wendy Thomas sort of being a lone wolf as a journalist. They probably didn't know much about MLK 50, probably had never even heard of ProPublica. I don't know. But they just didn't think that this was worth their time to spend. But they grossly underestimated this. They grossly underestimated the interest that it would get, the national reach that ProPublica has. It's been around for quite a while, doing some outstanding investigative work on a national level. And Wendy was really smart to hook up with them. And now the public is all aghast at what Methodist was doing. And then when you get the lawmakers, state lawmakers like G.A. Hardaway involved here, they had no choice but to do an about-face here after they tried to defend it on the front end and at least say they're going to review it for 30 days, but people are still, especially Wendy, she's going to still be watching this to make sure that they follow through and make some definite changes.
Like any journalist would. When you know you're onto a good story, and other journalists have grabbed it as well.
Oh, no question.
You stay on it. So let's talk about the interest from the state lawmakers, because I was unaware of just how many millions of dollars state tax dollars go into helping Methodist because it's a charity hospital.
Yeah.
Are they going to, what kind of action do you think they're going to take here?
Well, they're going to make it a lot more difficult for Methodists to continue in their current business practice. They're going to have them say, you know, you need to get going, get it taken out. Listen, as a few folks might know, I've been through health problems in the last few years. And in fact, one of those health problems, I was at Methodist here in Methodist University. And I can tell you that even with insurance, which is thank heavens I have, getting out of that was tough. And yes, I had to deal with Methodist, and Methodist was not easy when it came to that bill. But it helped a lot that I was, unfortunately, someone fairly well known in the community, because I hate that. But nevertheless, it was, you know, that helped. And using, you know, and the fact that I had insurance helped. These folks, $14, $15 an hour, folks even less than that. I mean, you're throwing a terrible situation on them that they'll never get out.
Well, it's been proven. When, you know, you're making $8 an hour and you're looking at a $10,000 bill. A lot of folks, because it's so astronomical to them, they just throw it away and hope it's going to go away.
They don't know what to do.
So then it ends up in this collection phase. Maybe they could have worked something out with Methodist, because Methodist does, and to be fair here, they say they really do try to work with patients before it gets to the legal stage. But I think it shows a lack of understanding that a lot of folks just don't want to face the reality of that kind of a medical expense, and the thought of $80 more a month or $150 more a month, whatever payment plan they work out. They're like, well, I'm having to make a choice here between food on the table and paying my medical
and paying your light bills and all of that. And the fact that Methodist was tacking on interest on top of that, that made it even much more difficult, if not impossible, to get out of the debt. I mean, it we talked about this last week, Richard. It spoke to it runs counter to everything that we've been talking about in this community about trying to lift people out of poverty. They are just throwing them deeper into it, and coming across as being so callous in doing so.
With your own collection agency and everything.
And their own employees. They're going after their own employees as well.
All right, let's talk about what I'm describing as the muddy situation, the increasingly muddy situation between Tom Lee Park supporters. Well, they're all Tom Lee Park supporters, but you have the River Parks Partnership, and you have Memphis and May on the other side. And this week, the new development was you had 3 business groups. So you're looking at the plans for the redesign now that are some $60 million. You had this week 3 pretty well-known business groups, the Memphis Restaurant Association, the Hotel and Lodging Group, and the Beale Street Merchants Association, all saying, we're all for improvements to Tom Lee Park, but by God, it better not affect Memphis and May, because that's a $137 million infusion into the local economy that they desperately need. Mike?
Well, absolutely. And look, you can make improvements to Tom Lee Park. But I'm a newcomer, and I remember looking at Tom Lee Park when I first came here. I didn't find it to be an open field pasture, which is what some call it, just a pasture. Obviously, people in the city like it because they use it. They
see people using it all the time.
All the time.
Yep.
So I think the new plans are probably in serious trouble. I think that the basic public, I think they didn't understand just how much of a big deal Memphis in May is, not only to people who go to it, obviously, but as you said, to the economy of this community. Memphis in May is a real big deal. And if you had to choose between that versus fixing up a park and losing it, they're going to say, keep the park as is, and I want that festival here as well. I think they're in trouble right now.
Well, I want to pursue that further and get both of you your take on the fact that it's pitting movers and shakers against movers and shakers. You have Pitt Hyde, as an example, who's a big proponent of Carol Coletta and what she's trying to do with the park. And then you have folks like Pat Kerr-Tigert, who's vocal on Facebook and other venues saying, you know, this is the big mistake. The park is just fine. I like my four-way. I like my four-lane road. Leave it alone. It's just creating an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
It really is, and I like the way you framed it with the movers and shakers over here, the movers and shakers over here. And they're pretty much at loggerheads. So what does that mean? That means that the people who are not moving and shaking that much, but still have a strong voice, like regular, ordinary people in the community, where are they going to go? I think they're going to go over here with the anti-change. Mike is absolutely right. I don't think that there may be some small adjustments to Tom Lee Park, but all of the stuff with the hills and trees, I don't think that's going to fly because I think there's going to be too much pushback in this community against it, and the politicians going to wind up having to side with the ordinary people.
Well, that was my next mover and shaker I was going to ask about is Jim Strickland. What does he do in this situation?
Well, he's sitting back hoping that there's some type of a negotiated settlement can work out here. But I think Jim Strickland listens to voters, I think, like any politician. And if you listen to people in this community, the one thing I never hear is someone saying, you know, we got to change that park. We got to make that park with hills. We got to put trees in that park. Nobody talks about how important it is to make changes in that park other than the people who support the changes. And I think people have just in Memphis just say, leave it alone. You don't mess with something that's not broken. And it's not broken. And just leave it as is.
I agree, and having said that, and in all fairness, I think Carol Coletta has done a really good job of bringing some, you know, better credibility and relevance to this River Parks Partnership Organization, which used to be called the Riverfront Development.
And this wasn't going to be, it's going to be well managed, whatever happens, because this is not going to be another Beale Street Landing situation where you have cost overrun after cost overrun. You feel like they're in good hands fiscally and all of that, but there is some criticism that perhaps Mud Island should have been tackled first and is in more need than Tom Lee Park.
That's a good point, and I think they've tried to make some explanation as to why that was not the case. I still think Mike hit it on the head that nobody has been clamoring for huge changes at Tom Lee Park. Yes, it's a flat piece of ground, but people like to go down there. And again, when you're talking about the Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest and the Beale Street Music Festival being in possible danger, those are our two signature events. Nobody's going to want to mess with that.
But playing devil's advocate with you, don't you think that there's so much momentum financially behind this? I mean, there's an awful lot of folks who do want this to happen, and they've pretty much secured most of the money they need for it.
Oh, yeah, they definitely have the money they need for it. And yes, there is a lot of push for it. But the thing is, sometimes I have learned over the years, especially in Memphis, I've seen people, you push people too far and they'll fight back. The interstate issue, for example, over in Overton Park many years ago. This is going to have a boomerang effect on them who think they can push it through with money and being a VIP. I don't think it's going to work here.
Could the approach have been different? Do you think that we might be at a different place had things been started in a different way in terms of pushing this initiative through?
Well, I don't know what way that could have been. I mean, again, when people look at the schematics there and they see all of these trees and they see all of those hills and they're envisioning, hey, I go down there for the barbecue contest, where am I going to be? Where is my tent going to be?
Where am I going to see the river from?
Where am I going to see the river? So I don't know what else they could have done aside from not doing anything at all that would have been preferable. I don't know.
It's flat land down there, okay? I mean, they're talking about hills and trees and all that. It's on the river, okay? It's flat land, just like the Delta. It's more natural as is, as opposed to what they want it to be. Leave it alone.
One last thing, and then we'll let it go. Army Corps of Engineers is no pushover either.
Right.
They have made it very clear they're going to be very hands-on on any infrastructure changes that need to be made.
And they should be, because again, many years ago, the place looked nothing like it did now. Riverside Drive wasn't even there, and the river was basically right up against that bluff. And so over the period of time is when Tom Lee Park really became Tom Lee Park that was big enough to accommodate all of these things. The Corps of Engineers had a huge hand in that. So yes, they're going to be looking at this quite strongly.
Okay, we'll tackle this issue again, I'm sure. We're going to let it go for now, and when we come back, we'll talk about the status of the Memphis mayor's race. We're just 3 months away. We'll be right back.
The experiences, the kind that take your breath away and remind you what it feels like to be alive. Catching a glimpse of life under the sea or on top of the world. Walking in the footsteps of soldiers, legends, and kings. It's a feeling, a connection that can only be made in Tennessee. Start planning at tmvacation.com.
Throughout the country, buried pipelines are indicated by a pipeline right-of-way. A long, wide stretch of grass cleared of trees and marked with signs. If you have a right-of-way near your home, do not plant anything in it or dig in it. Do not install a fence or build your kids a super cool fort without first getting the pipeline operator's approval.
Call your local natural gas utility or visit pipesafety.org. Brought to you by the Tennessee Gas Association.
I like to grill. We had a group to come in, and I did some hamburgers. And he was 13 years old. He said, I have never had a hamburger. And the way he looked, I know he was serious. And he ate that hamburger and looked, he said, can I have another one? This is the first time I ever had a hamburger, and I don't know if I ever get another one. Things like that just touches you. I want you to do more for them.
There's power in working together. So let's rise up and choose to see our similarities. Let's be bold and appreciate the things that make us unique. Let's use our voices to put an end to bullying and cyberbullying forever. And on Monday, October 7th, let's all stand up for World Day of Bullying Prevention by rocking a blue shirt. Together, we can make bullying a thing of the past. Get your blue shirt at stompoutbullying.org.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Back on Local 24 this week to talk about the mayor's race. We crossed the barrier of the 3 months away, and these are the three candidates as we see it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. You first. That are most likely to get this. Although we have 15 candidates that have said
that's right. They're, at least right now they are. They say they're interested. We'll find out when you get that vote, the date to where they can pull out. A lot of them haven't even returned the petitions yet.
That's right.
But I had the honor or lack of honor or whatever you want to call it to talk with Robert Prince Mongo Hodges this week on the phone. And I probably broke a reporter's rule here, but I said, Mongo, you do not have a chance of winning this election. You do not have a chance of winning this election. And if there are debates, you are probably not going to get called for any of those debates either. The fact is, it is a three-person race. It has been for months. It's still going to be a three-person race. Once they get around to doing something. Now, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. Tammy Sawyer's doing politicking. Jim Strickland's hitting the neighborhoods on weekends, knocking on doors, doing it the old-fashioned way. Former Mayor Willie Harrington, well, outside of talking with the Memphis Police Association, I haven't seen him do much of anything else.
Yeah. Well, let's show those faces again. As you look at those top three candidates, since last time we talked about it, has anyone moved up? Has anyone moved down? Has there been any movement, even though we haven't seen any polls, really to verify your gut? But tell us what your gut is saying.
Well, you can rest assured that I bet you Jim Strickland has some internal polls, and that's telling him where he stands, and I think they would say that he's standing in really good shape right now. So I don't know where the others stand. I still say that this is Jim Strickland's race to lose. I mean, he is far, he has the most money. He can make a closing argument in September and into October and talk about the things that he's done. I did point out the other day that there was this sort of obscure survey that came out that rated Memphis one of the worst run cities. That got a little bit of media attention, but again, it was so obscure that I don't think anybody's going to pay that much attention to that. The problem is Tammy Sawyer and Dr. Harrington, in some respects, are going to be trying to vie for the same voters, and I don't think that they see them as strong enough to take on an incumbent like Jim.
Well, since we last talked about it, we've had the People's Convention, which endorsed Tammy Sawyer, and we also had the unrest in Fraser, which some say hurt Tammy Sawyer.
Hurt her tremendously.
Would you agree with, and Dr. Harrington was basically out of sight for both?
Yeah, very much so. I think it did hurt Tammy Sawyer. I think Tammy Sawyer will end up in second place in this election. I do think she's going to move into second place because she's working hard. Dr. Harrington's not. He might disagree with this, and he'll let me know if he does. Yeah, but he's not. I don't think he's working this election well at all. I don't think he's working hard enough in this election. He's living off his past. He's living off his name, and a lot of folks who voted for Dr. Harrington are now up in that big bluff city in the sky. So I think the bottom line though is, you look at the incumbency, Richard. The power of the incumbency. The mayor says we're paving roads. Hey, I'll hold a news conference to say we're paving roads, which is something they're supposed to do anyway.
Right.
It's not a big news, but that's what he can do, see, as the mayor. And that's tough to beat.
I'll let you have the final word. We've got 30 seconds left.
Well, again, back to Tammy Sawyer. Yes, she's running a very aggressive campaign. It's a social media-based campaign. It's a campaign based on, change. We can't wait for change to happen. But there is no question that Fraser incident hurt her tremendously because she jumped the gun. She tweeted out or retweeted that it was murder. It made her look really bad. And so now she is really sort of being marginalized in some respects. I agree that she'll come in second, though.
Just the question now is how big of the gap between first and second.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be fairly large, unless something strange happens.
Right, and we all know in politics, anything can happen. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks. We'll wrap things up right after this.
You'll do it right to make your backyard its best. Lowe's does it right, too, with July 4th savings to get you started. Like 5 bags of premium mulch for $10 and 5 bags of Stay Green soil, also $10. Whatever you need to get your yard in shape, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
And choose to see our similarities. Let's be bold and appreciate the things that make us unique. Let's use our voices to put an end to bullying and cyberbullying forever. And on Monday, October 7th, let's all stand up for World Day of Bullying Prevention by rocking a blue shirt. Together, we can make bullying a thing of the past. Get your blue shirt at stompoutbullying.org.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at Marines.com.
He's a veteran journalist with over 43 years of experience. Former managing editor of the Commercial Appeal, a member of the Tennessee Journalism Hall of Fame. Otis Sanford, now with Richard Ransom and Katina Rankin. Get his point of view, weeknights on Local 24 News at 5.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at Marines.com.
All right, my thanks to Justin Davis earlier in the show, as well as to Mike Matthews and Otis Sanford, and thanks to you as well for being here. We'll see you next time for Local 24 this week, now on twice on Sundays, 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m.